Good
Hi,
evening.
people.
No, it's me. I go
Okay.
first. Okay, so three, two, one, now. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the show. Thanks for joining us, whether you're watching live or catching the replay later. Tonight, we'll be discussing several topics that Robert has been looking forward to sharing. We'll take them one at a time, give each topic the attention it deserves before moving on to the next. If you're new to the channel, we're glad you're here and we hope you enjoy the conversation. Now, here's my brother and tonight's host, Robert Hanson.
Thank you, Roger, and thank you, Bob, for appearing on the show. And we will be talking about different types of weather, different types of radiation of plants, and the mutations, and the progress of plants in other types of season. Like when
You
it's
want me
like,
to read the first topic for you?
yeah, like the bacteria, like what different types of bacterias and that.
I can read the topics if you want.
Yeah. Okay.
Get it going and stuff. So let me see where I put them things. I had them right here. There we go. Sorry about that. Okay. Plants exposed by extreme environments is what I named this on the talking point. So I guess that would have been the best way of saying it. I don't know.
Yeah.
So you were wanting to talk about research that was done when it comes to plants that are introduced to extreme radiation and stuff, and I found out that extreme research does show that plants are resilient to extreme radiation, often surviving doses that would be instantly fatal to humans. Decades of field study in nuclear disaster zones like Chernobyl and Fukushima, space biology experiments, and laboratory gamma sources testing have revealed the unique ways plants handle radioactive stress. And while humans can withstand around 4 grays or GY of radiation, many plants routinely survive acute exposure between 30 to 300 GY. Now, they had a key research findings in radiation effects, and that was the red forest phenomena, which is high acute exposure. Immediately following the 1986 Chernobyl disaster, the high-dose acute radiation killed the surrounding Scott pine trees. Their needles turned to ginger-brown color, giving birth to the name red forest. And this established that conifers and gymnosperms are among the most radiation-sensitive plants. Then they had the morphological abnormalities, with plants growing in high contaminated areas often exhibiting altered development. Scientists have documented leaves with strange asymmetrical shapes, stunted stem growth, and a significant reduction in the size and weight of seeds and fruits, such as soybeans. I guess that would be a good place to start you off, wouldn't it?
Yeah. like with soybean, like what the do they consider like what you call it, the material for the oil? You know, the plant, how the plant keeps moist and all that, absorbed up nourishment from the soil, and how the bacteria breaks materials down to absorb it into the plant.
Well,
To
they said
create
that
more.
high radiation exposure damages parental DNA. It says researchers of wild carrots around Chernobyl demonstrated that seeds harvested from the high radiation zone suffered severe delays in germination and lower overall viability. Chronic multi-generational exposure heavily targets plant reproduction rather than immediate survival.
Hmm.
So,
Does it say like when one season goes over, when it gets cold, does it what you call it, weakens or increases the chance of better growth for next year when it goes through the seasons?
I didn't find anything that has anything to do with that whatsoever.
Okay.
No,
But I do think that it does happen that over time, with the radiation content gets less. So it does get released, and then you go back to lower levels of radiation. So I don't know if that's related to the actual seasons or if it's just the decay of radiation over time. That would be interesting to look at, to see whether heat and cold affected the rate of loss of contamination.
No, I did find something out that was interesting when it came to that, though. It was called phyto. Gotta give me, or excuse me on the way I pronounce this stuff, but it's phytoremediation. The hyperaccumulators is what it basically is, and it says some plants act as biological vacuums, like sunflowers. They were deployed at Chernobyl because they naturally absorb radioactive isotopes like cesium-137 and strontium-90.
Good
Now,
heavens.
Now, because these isotopes mimic essential nutrients like potassium and calcium, the sunflowers suck them from the soil and water and lock them into their own biomass without dying.
So it can absorb the radiation from the soil and turn it by breaking it down.
No, it just traps it within its biomass, and it doesn't die from it. It just sucks it in there and keeps it.
Oh, okay. Okay.
That's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Where does the radiation go once there's been like a big thing like Chernobyl? Does the radiation go into the air, or does it go into, like when you say the soil, what part of the soil? Surely not the soil grains. Maybe the plant matter in the soil, the dead leaves and the dead animals, and where is it stored?
That's a good question. While you guys are discussing all that, I can do a quick check for you, because now I've got it to where I can bounce around and it doesn't mess the video up.
Nice.
So we can actually do that. So
because I was wondering about that, because you hear about the radiation fallout and the soil and how long it takes. And when it comes to plants, when you see trees somewhat doing all right, you know how the trees the oil from the tree, it goes back into the root system at winter time, and then comes back at the beginning of spring. Through the process, how does the radiation and affects that.
Yes. That'll be
And
very interesting. Does it penetrate into the seed or into the roots to alter that for the next season?
yeah, and that's why I'm curious about that. And well, when other like like um, peanuts, okay, peanuts puts hydrogen back into the soil, and I was wondering if that is the case. How has that ever been shown up as a way of processing the soil?
Now, I do have information on what you guys are asking about where the radiation goes to. Now, when a nuclear disaster occurs, the radiation itself doesn't physically settle anywhere. Rather, billions of tiny unstable atoms called radionuclides are carried by wind and rain and deposited directly into the surface of the soil and the plants. And over time, these radioactive particles undergo a dynamic journey of movement, chemical binding, and plant absorption. Now, plants do not absorb radiation. They absorb the physical radioactive isotopes like cesium 137 and strontium 90, dissolved in groundwater, mistakenly identifying them as vital nutrients.
How does that affect the what we were just saying too about the oil? You know, what you call it when the tree drops it,
See,
oil.
when you refer to plants though and oil, what you're actually referring to, oils only that they're the ones that in plants that creates the fragrances. Like when you smell a flower, okay, that that
Okay.
that has nothing to do with like um, that has nothing to do with like pollen or anything of that nature. It's more it attracts the pollinators so that they freaking come in and they actually um, pull the pollen from the plants and everything. Don't get me wrong, but they don't actually like send out anything for pollination. They just attract the pollinators.
Okay. Well, does that interfere in that process in any way?
Interfere with what, Robert? I didn't understand your
The
question.
pollination, when the radiation goes with the pollen, I mean
Yeah.
the oils and that, does it mess with the where it sends out that odor to the honeybees it's ready to be harvested? Does it mess with that in any form or fashion? Decreases the value, the odor, or what does it do?
Well, right here, it's
What
interesting.
does radiation do?
It's very interesting right here because like it talks about the chemical imposters where cesium 137 it's shares like an almost identical chemical structure with potassium, which flowers need for photosynthesis. Now, sodium, strontium 90 mimics calcium, which plants use to build like cell walls. And when a flower drinks groundwater, its roots can't tell the difference, and they suck in the radiation atoms up into its system. But the weird thing is like once inside the plant, vascular action pushes the radiation isotopes upward in flowers like sunflowers. The contaminants bypass the roots and get locked heavily into the stems and leaves. And that's the biomass. Now, the thing that's really interesting here is it's saying many flowers process biological barriers that actively restrict these toxins, the toxic isotopes, from entering the seeds or flower heads. you protect the next generation. However, if the plant dies naturally, it rots on the ground, releasing the radioactive particles back into the topsoil in a continuous loop.
That's
Okay.
interesting.
That
So the
is,
seed is protected. What you're saying, I think, is
Mhm.
that there's a biological process where the radioactive stuff doesn't go into the next generation. But the rotting of the parent plant, okay, so it would only be seeds that were taken and carried to a new location that would grow up healthy. Is that right?
That's what it seems like to me.
Okay, interesting.
And but what you call that? Methane. Well, in the car,
Yes,
oxygen and methane. You know how trees absorbs that up.
methane. Trees
Does,
absorb
does,
methane.
does it affect that less of it, or brings it to where the tree don't produce as much, or well, what would be the case of that?
Well, what I found out from this is it says that when scientists use flowers for cleanup, they must harvest the green plants before they drop seeds, because the radioactive plants are then incinerated under extreme containment for a safety process into the glassy solid called vitrified waste for deep burial.
Goodness gracious me.
No, hold up, I got that wrong. That last part is then incinerated under extreme containment, or they're safely processed into a glassy solid called vitrified waste, and that's for deep burial.
Like what would happen when you take peanut seeds and you grow them in the soil? You hear about how it pulls to put hydrogen, oxygen back into the soil. Would that still work on that situation?
I don't know. I mean, like now you're talking about peanuts and shit.
Well, I was referring to about the thing about how it works with the soil, like it brings.
Do you know if peanuts actually do anything when it comes to radiation, or are you just kind of like?
Well, I don't know if the decrease or however peanut was what happens to peanuts. I don't know. I thought either way. I just know that peanuts put oxygen back into the soil.
Peanuts put nitrogen into the soil.
Yeah.
Peanuts put nitrogen into the soil.
They said that peanuts have been extensively used in radiation research and soil cleanup experiments, but scientists discovered they react very differently than sunflowers because peanuts are a major global food source and grow their own pods directly underground. Researchers have heavily studied how the interaction of radiation, soil, and heavy metals and radiation induce mutations.
Right.
So
they're trying to see if the process by which the peanuts put nitrogen into the soil can be used somehow to clean the soil. Is that what the gist of the research is?
Yeah, apparently that they were using it with Fukushima, the nuclear. They did the Fukushima nuclear research. That's peanuts versus cesium.
Cesium.
And following the Fukushima nuclear accident, Japanese agricultural scientists conducted a comparative study on radioactive cesium transfer in peanuts and soybeans. Now, because the peanuts develop their fruit which is the pod underground, scientists feared they would absorb massive amounts of radioactive
Right. I
cesium-137
see. Oh, I see. Okay.
directly through the shell.
Mm.
Now, surprisingly, the research proved that the peanuts are highly resistant to absorbing radiocesium.
Okay.
The peanut plant has a natural biological barrier that severely restricts the translocation of cesium from the roots up to the stems and from the stems into the actual peanut root. So
Good heavens.
mhm. So the
So,
the
yeah.
study concluded that peanuts accumulate significantly less radiation cesium than in their seeds than soybeans grown in the exact same radioactive soil. Applying potassium to the soil further blocked the peanut from taking in the radiation. So
Gosh. So peanuts are naturally resistant to radiation. Now, cesium. So what was it in the sunflower? What was the sunflower resistant to? Was it also cesium?
now the sunflower, let me see, I've got that one up here. This one is actually the first one that Robert had me go through. I'm having to scroll up. Scroll up, Roger.
Scroll up.
Okay. Let me see here. I didn't realize how far I'd scrolled up. Now it says here that the chemical imposter. I believe that was the one where. Okay. It says the rate when nuclear disaster occurs, the radiation itself doesn't physically settle anywhere. Rather, no, that's
Mm.
that's after that, I believe.
Yeah, it was around there.
With all them plants, does
Mm.
the bacteria? You know how they say you
Okay,
gotta switch up the.
you're asking too much questions. You're just I'm still trying to answer one of the
Oh, okay.
questions
Sorry.
you said. Yeah.
Sorry about that.
You're like already into asking another question and stuff. Yeah, the sunflower. Yeah, you're right. It's no, when scientists use flowers to clean up, they harvest the green plants. That's
Right. Right.
okay. No, was that in the notes? Yeah, there. That could have actually been in the notes. Plants growing in highly contaminated areas often, no. Yeah, here it is. It's some plants act as biological vacuums. Sunflowers were deployed at Chernobyl because they naturally absorbed radioactive isotopes like uh, cesium-137 and strontium-90. Now, because these isotopes mimic essential nutrients, potassium and calcium, the sunflower suck them from the soil and water and lock them into their own biomass without dying. So they lock them into that biomass, which is the trunk and everything, without dying. So the peanut, I guess, has a resistance where the sunflower just sucks them in there and keeps them.
Sucks them in. Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, so you could say you could plant sunflower on one side and peanuts on the other, and the two would work towards each other as goals.
Well, I would probably use peanuts for like if you're a farmer living in an area that was affected by radiation, which there are people who do that. They still live there, like in Japan. I would probably grow peanuts so that I could have something freaking sell.
Well, yeah,
There's something that you can eat that's not poisoned.
Right.
Whereas the
Yeah.
sunflower's cleaning your environment. But it's not really cleaning your environment unless you pick the green matter and take it and go and burn it in some huge factory thing and make some glass stuff out of it and then bury it in the soil. I mean, so it's kind of a not just it's no good unless you do the whole
well, I was wondering too.
destruction thing.
Now, there's one more thing on here that
Mm.
goes into the notes that I underneath the sunflowers, and they call it cosmic radiation mutagenesis. They said joint research by the IAEA and the FAO involves sending crop seeds into space to expose them to extreme cosmic radiation. This intentionally triggers rapid DNA mutations to cultivate new supercrops that can resist climate-driven drought and extreme heat. So I figured I'd throw that out there too.
Mm.
What about like the garden that's growing up high up in the mountains? You know, the heat or radiation or however they say.
Well,
That's a
food-
different type of radiation altogether.
Yeah,
and
you know,
besides that, with mountains in radioactive situations, they always encourage people to be around the mountains because there's some mountains even that has like minerals inside of it that can protect you from the fallout. So I mean, that from what I remember them saying that it was safer for you to be in a mountain region whenever it came to nuclear fallout rather than being on flat ground.
Gosh.
But that was old school stuff. That was back when Cold War was going on and everybody was terrified of it.
But I think that there's two different types of radiation that we're talking about here. There's radiation, which is the transmission of heat and light from the sun to Earth. And then there's radiation that comes from radioactive material.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very confusing because we're using the same word for two different things.
Right.
You do get what the geographers call radiation of different levels, which means that up high in the mountains, because the air is thinner, more rays from the sun can penetrate. And so you can actually get more of the sun's radiation to Earth at the upper levels of the atmosphere.
That's what I was referring to.
Yes. But those are balanced by the fact that it gets colder the higher you go. So you need that extra input from the sun to sort of balance out the temperature there a bit. Whereas down low, where the atmosphere is thicker and heavier, more of the rays from the sun get blocked and get bounced back out of the atmosphere, and so they don't reach the actual ground. And it's very interesting because the rays from the sun coming through the atmosphere don't heat up the atmosphere. They only release their heat when they touch the ground. And then the ground is what warms up. And then the ground loses heat into the air immediately above it. But the sun's rays don't heat the air itself.
Yeah, but what you just said, when it's radioactive, is the soil can it actually absorb the sunlight like you were referring to, and then it goes into the plant with no problem, or less of it, or however?
Radioactive is a different thing.
Well, no, I mean the soil. You know, where the soil is absorbing the sunlight.
this actually goes into the second question that you was asking
Oh, okay,
about
okay.
with the soil, and I actually have that on the. I just did that on the Google search thing too, and it says where radiation goes in the soil. So
One
now
more thing.
let me read this for you real quick.
Okay.
Now, the behavior of radioactive particles in soil depends entirely on the soil's composition, weather, and time. Okay, the top 6 inches, the binding immediately after an accident, nearly all the radioactive fallout sits on the top layer of soil. If the soil is rich in clay or minerals like mica, the cesium-137 locks tightly onto the soil particles like a magnet. This binding action actually keeps the radiation from wasting away into rivers or washing away into rivers, but it makes it harder for plants to pull out. Now, the slow sinking is the next one, and it says over decades, rainwater slowly pushes the unbound radioactive particles deeper into the earth. Research in Chernobyl showed that radionuclides sink vertically through the soil profile at a glacial pace of about 2 to 4 centimeters per year. Now, the deep root elevator part is as the radiation sinks, a strange tug of war happens. While the shallow topsoil gets cleaner, the radioactive particles eventually reach the deep root systems of large trees. Now, these deep rooted plants suck the buried isotopes up and pull them right back up to the surface, dispersing them back into the forest floor when their autumn leaves fall. So, in places like Fukushima, the soil didn't clean naturally fast enough, and the Japanese government launched massive decontamination efforts by physically scraping off the top 5 centimeters or 2 inches of topsoil across thousands of fields, packing it into millions of black storage bags and moving it to centralized lined repository facilities. So that's what that says about that. It's weird that you brought that up because that's exactly what they're talking about right there with the soil.
Okay.
So it's kind of weird, especially when you're talking about the trees, because the roots literally just suck in the radiation and just disperses them right back up to the top of the ground again when the leaves fall. So it's
Does it say anything? You know how everyone says lightning comes from the ground. Well, when that happens, when the weather pops up, does it disperse, or what does it do when the electrical gets activated? You know, when there's a lot of lightning going on.
Mm-hmm. When there's a lot of lightning going on, it's because there is a difference in electrical charge between the surface of the earth and the bottom of the clouds.
Yeah.
And so you get a spark that just jumps. And
Yeah,
once
that. Sorry. Yeah.
Carry on.
I was just saying about how it shoots up from the ground,
Yes.
the lightning.
It can
And
shoot
with all
up
that-
or it can shoot down. It's more likely that it shoots down
Oh, okay.
from the cloud to the ground. But then when it touches the ground, it gets earthed. And so it just gets dispersed and neutralized like electricity would. It is electricity, basically.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So yeah, if the Earth was different from what it was, then we wouldn't be able to live here. Like when that happened, it would just electrocute all the creatures of the whole world. but because Earth behaves like it does, it takes that electricity and it just, you see, inside the water, there are lots of different salts, and the salts inside the water all have little electrical charges on them. So when the electricity hits and it gets into the soil, into that charged water, it just, each one takes a tiny electron out of the electricity, and so instead of it being ionized, it's now neutralized. Gosh, that's just way too difficult for me to explain without a pencil and paper. That's something that I have to draw in order to explain. Yeah, but it's fascinating. So many of the miracles, almost the miracles of nature. If this didn't work like that, and if that didn't neutralize this, and if that didn't balance this, we wouldn't be alive. We wouldn't be here.
What type, like when it comes to sand, and hard, and like in New Zealand, the soil there, how would that work on either one of the types of soils?
Well, the different type of soil is different because of the different type of rocks that it's made out of, right? So the rock gets broken down into smaller and smaller and smaller pieces, and when it's just the smallest pieces that it gets to, that's the basis of a soil. So if you've got a black rock, you'll get a black soil. If you've got a white rock, you'll get a white soil. Yeah?
I was talking about the radioactive, where the different types of soil is in with that radioactive and the plants.
See, no, what that has to do with it is like the soil doesn't actually cause the the lightning discharge like you're thinking of. It doesn't actually like discharge electricity out of the ground or anything like that. Okay. Now what it does, it alters the electrical properties of the environment. Okay. So instead of generating lightning like discharges from the soil, the fallout essentially turns the air above the ground into like this invisible, highly active electrical conductor. You know what I mean? It causes an ionization effect. That's kind of what she was getting at. You know what I'm saying? It affects like it electrifies the air basically. You know. So you've got things like they call it stripping electrons. Then you have air conductivity, where it's conductive.
Oh, contradictory. Oh
no, conduct. It's conductive.
Conductive.
I mean? Yeah. Normally, air is like an electrical insulator, but when fallout blankets the ground, the relentless creation of these ions dramatically increase the electrical conductiveness of the surrounding air. You know what I mean? It just literally it becomes a conductor for freaking electricity. So when they have storms, they have storms. You know what I mean? It's like a conductor. Like if you use copper with heat, or you use copper with freaking electricity. Imagine that.
Yeah.
But this is intensified. You know.
Okay.
You're basically messing with the Earth's global electric circuit. If you can imagine that, like, imagine the Earth having like an electric circuit, which
well, what would happen like well,
let me go on to the next topic. So why do plants survive radiation better than animals? Okay, that's what was one of the things that we were discussing Okay, and the reason why animals or plants survive radiation better than what animals do is because animals possess like internal organs that are really complex. And if a critical organ is riddled with radiation-induced tumors, the animal dies. Well, plants have a completely different blueprint that shields them from these biological failures. Okay, researchers conducted conducted in the Ukraine, the Chernobyl exclusion zone, um, showed that in northern Ukraine, what it was. Here, let me go ahead and just read it. Now, the Chernobyl exclusion zone, which is CEZ in northern Ukraine, is the world's premier open-air laboratory for studying chronic multi-generational radiation on flora. Decades of research in Ukraine and international science and international scientists have revealed fascinating insights into plant genetics and adaptation. The foundational study published in PubMed tracked Arabidopsis thaliana in tobacco plants grown directly into radioactive contaminated Ukrainian soil. Scientists discovered a direct dose-dependent increase in homologous recombination, a DNA repair mechanism. Now, the plants actively and rapidly rearrange their own DNA strands to overwrite and fix the breaks caused by chronic low-dose radiation. Now, then you have the flaxseed proteasome adaptation. In a landmark experiment, scientists grew flax crops in the heavily contaminated soil near Chernobyl power plant and compared them to flax grown in clean soil. They analyzed the seed's proteome, the specific protein produced in the Chernobyl flax seeds had adjusted their internal chemistry, producing significantly higher levels of proteins responsible for heavy metal detoxification and cellular signaling. Essentially, the plants learn to treat the radioactive environment like a toxic heavy metal stress, successfully generating viable seeds. And then it goes into the red forest succession, which I was talking about before. And it says immediately after the 1986 disaster, the active radiation killed the highly sensitive Scots pines. However, decades later, researchers documented a dramatic ecological shift. Devoid of human activity, the area naturally transitioned into a blooming birch and aspen forests. These deciduous trees are inherently more radiation resistant and have thoroughly reclaimed the exclusive zone. So that's the second.
So does a plant has like minerals and acids within a plant, doesn't it?
No, I actually did that research for you on Earth and on our show for Earth, and they have no antacids at all. Like I don't even know. That's not. It's not even a part of their chemistry, man.
Oh, okay. Well, how do they break stuff down?
Break what down? They don't break stuff down, Robert. What do you mean break stuff down?
Like you do understand how freaking plants do things, right, Robert? Like they don't digest food. You know
The the dead plants fall into the soil, and then with what the animals do, eating them up and pooping them
Yeah.
up, and the soil and everything, they are reduced to like a slime, a sort of a watery slime, which is full of minerals and salts and different nutrients. And the
'Cause-
roots suck little bits into them, like you drinking a cool drink. So the breaking down happens in the soil, and then the plant just sucks in water that has got chemicals, minerals in it to feed its leaves. And
okay.
then it grows by what is it's photosynthesis, is it, Roger?
Yeah.
The process of photosynthesis is what
Right.
causes plant growth.
Yeah. On that process, that don't get affected by that stuff, does it?
Yeah,
Which
it
stuff?
did. It does. I just like read out tons of stuff that
Oh, okay, yeah. Okay. Yeah.
photosynthesis. Now you guys have me saying complicated words.
Yeah.
Now,
What?
hold up. Now,
Mm.
the photosynthesis comes in the part that I was talking about with the red forest phenomena, I believe is what it was.
Yes.
Yeah, scientists have documented leaves with strange asymmetric shapes, stunted stem growth, and significant reduction in size and weight of the seeds and fruits, such as soy. Okay, soybeans. That's not it. Yeah, that's
But such as soybeans.
mhm,
It's just one example.
right. But it doesn't mention anything about the photosynthesis.
Photosynthesis.
Yeah. Now it could be in the phytoremediation part. Some plants act as like biological vacuums. No, that's for the sunflowers.
That's right. That's right. The way that they sort of almost seem to have empty storage space to put the toxins in the soil.
Mm-hmm.
How does that work about with vines?
With what?
With
Vines. Yeah, like grapevines.
Could work exactly the same with any other plants. There's just one process. All plants do the same things.
Right.
It would be interesting to see. I don't think that they found anything in vines. The only one they mentioned that they found it in was sunflowers. So I'm guessing that sunflowers is the only plant that knows how to.
Because I was wondering about like how long it grows. The vines do.
How long? Do you mean how many years they stay alive?
Well, yeah. How long and yeah.
Or the length? Are you talking about like the length?
Yeah, the length and how wide they get.
Feet.
See, I have a suspicion that Robert has been watching too many sci-fi adventures, and he's thinking that these are going to become mutated vines that are going to eventually like get huge.
Well, no, I was referring to like if that happens, less the vine growth or fruit as well.
If you go up with just sunflowers, okay, then you can tell what that would do if it's like the same with other vine kind of things. Okay, it would literally absorb the radiation in and hold it in. And if it's like every other flower or flora, whenever it decays, it'll just reintroduce it back into the soil that it's on top of.
Okay. So like when male and female flowers of plants,
I don't even think that the male and female has a difference. Like this has absolutely nothing to do with growing or anything like that. As a matter of fact, from what I'm reading here, it sounds like plants actually do better in radiation than what we do.
Yes, it looks like that. Hey, is that plant
Mhm.
material seems to be much less affected than animal matter.
It's
Animals
really
seem to
interesting.
get more mutations.
It really is interesting. This is actually turned into a pretty good
Well,
topic, but
did
but
they ever, like what happened in, remember on that movie, where them guys works in Arizona chopping the forest down, and when they were heading back home, they see a bright light in the woods, and that guy hops out of the truck.
well, hold
Well,
on. We don't need to be going there. Let me go ahead and get on to the second one because
okay.
now research in Japan, Fukushima Daiichi site. Okay, following the 2011 nuclear accident in Japan, scientists utilized lessons learned from Ukraine to study a younger radioactive zone. Okay. Now, they found that trees exposed to elevated dose rates in the Fukushima exclusion zone showed a clear increase in morphological mutations, such as whorl abnormalities, strange branches, or strange branch splitting shapes. Now, however, much like Chernobyl, the overall survival rate remained remarkably high. Um, now, microbial mats in radioactive pools. Investigations inside the core structure of the Fukushima reactor or reactors discovered that life thrives even in highly radioactive wastewater. Dense, slimy,
Extraordinary.
dense, slimy microbial mats, biofilms formed by ordinary marine bacteria, which is Lemnobacter and Breber habdis, have populated the water. Now, the dense matrix of the biofilm acts as a shared physical shield, protecting the bacteria from severe radiation while they feed on the inorganic metals of the damaged reactor infrastructure. So that's all I got to read. I know you were interested in that, popped up, so I'm sorry about that.
No, it's fascinating. It's
That is
really
intense.
interesting. I can see, looking at the sort of technical, scientific side of it, I can see where some of these bizarre stories come from. It's like you can imagine, well, what would happen if you got radioactive slime and put it.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm just remembering what it was like to be 12. What would you do with radioactive slime?
Okay, Robert, what do you think about that?
Oh, yeah, because that's what I was wondering, because like what happened in Arizona, when that guy did an investigation on in the woods area, how
Mm.
one side of the tree, the materials were doing better than the other side, and the tree, and only thing is the top of the tree that got singed, but one side was growing better than the other.
Hmm.
And that's what I was wondering, like what you call the sap from the tree. If the sap does the sap from the tree absorbs it as well, and then goes back into the winter time? Does it go back, or and if so, does how long does it last in the sap? Like any kind of radiation, like from a flying
Mm.
saucer or the sun or fallout.
That's very interesting, and I actually that kind of goes into the next part of the talking points,
Oh, okay.
which is the space biology. And that's the cosmic radiation in Mars missions that's coming up. Uh,
Okay.
now to prepare for like multi-year voyages to Mars or long-term habitats on the moon. space agencies must figure out how to shield crops from unfiltered cosmic rays and solar particle events. Simulated deep space testing at facilities like NASA Space Radiation Laboratories, researchers bombard crop plants with heavy ions like iron or silicon to mimic deep space radiation. And they found that while high doses can stunt root growth, certain variants of microgreens, dwarf tomatoes, and romaine lettuce maintain their naturally integrity and can still provide vital fresh food for astronauts.
Good heavens. Please read that again.
They found that while high doses can stunt root growth, certain variants of microgreens, dwarf tomatoes, and red romaine lettuce maintain their nutritional integrity and can still provide vital fresh food for astronauts.
That's amazing. So we're going to be able to grow lettuce and microgreens in space. In gardens.
And then they also have the space seeds
breeding
program.
Tell me. Yeah.
The International Atom Energy Agency and the Food Agriculture Organization routinely send crop seeds into Earth's orbit. By intentionally exposing the seeds to cosmic radiation, they induce rapid genetic mutations. Now, when these seeds are brought back to Earth, scientists select the mutations that accidentally made the plants tougher.
Right.
Using them to breed brand new agricultural strains capable of surviving climate-driven droughts. So, significant research has been conducted on how plants have been exposed to radiation. And that is pretty much what I pulled up on that. So I hand it back over to you, Mr. Hanson. Where you at, Robert?
Robert?
I think he lost his phone privileges.
His mind's blown. He just can't believe it. He's speechless.
Let me go find out if he is all right. He's over in the front room, so I will check real quick and I'll be right back.
Yeah, sure. I should have things to say here. If I was more on the ball and more in tune, I would have something pulled up so that I could read something fascinating, but I don't right now. What should I ask? What foods are the astronauts going to take with them to Mars? Okay, let's see. It's checking what's actually planned.
There you go. It's back.
Hey, are you back?
Yeah. Okay.
So I'm looking up what food the astronauts are going to take with them to Mars. It says that nothing has been, that there's no crude Mars food manifest that's been finalized yet. So they're still doing testing. There's no final Mars menu yet. NASA is still working out how to feed a crew for a journey and surface stay that lasts years. In 2026, it is running the Mars to Table Challenge to design Mars food systems and meal plans. The astronauts will probably eat a combination of food carried from Earth and fresh foods grown on Mars. Lettuce, kale, mustard greens, radishes, tomatoes and peppers, herbs, and strawberries.
No, I
Sorry.
think that would be a good start, but like whenever they get there, they're going to have a plan on exactly what you said, growing it there on Mars. You know what I mean?
Yes.
They can't be doing this transporting back and forth thing.
No.
Yeah,
No.
they're talking about what you call it, their own type of bacteria for Mars, because the the gravity of Mars is different and all that, and they would have to come up with a whole different other way of growing anything there.
Okay,
Well,
so
I think that's why it's so important that we make a moon base and we don't go to Mars. Like, why would we go to the second furthest one when we haven't even figured out how to go to the first closest one? Don't you think that a moon base is a much more sensible option to go and test out how to build uh, greenhouses, how to make soil? Because you don't have any soil on the moon, do you?
No,
I'm kind of mad with NASA and
Oh, why?
and all that, and because of the failed promises. So I get frustrated with it because I'm a 53-year-old man who was um, always interested in space when it comes to that, and like. And from the time when I was born until now, they were talking about all of these Apollo missions that they did back in the day that were supposed to be successful. And now after 1985, whenever the shuttle exploded, they kind of like cowered out and went backwards. Where instead of it being about exploration, they're terrified. And it was like JFK said, okay, we don't do these things because they're easy. We do them because they're hard. Now, if when it comes to like when it comes to exploration, we're supposed to do it because it's hard and because it is a challenge. And we're, I mean, it would be really easy to kind of escape into our technology and pretend like we don't have to do these things, but like when we become stagnant, we die not only as a civilization but as a race. You know what I mean? We will
Yes.
we will literally die if we don't explore because that's in our nature. And I think that's the scary point about today's world is people don't want to explore.
Well, I think it's just so sad that we've got the whole oceans full of
Right.
life, full of fascinating things, full of those underwater volcanoes where they grow shrimps in the boiling hot water. I mean, there's fascinating things, but we want to go to stupid space where there's nothing.
Well,
I think that
it's just that too. It's that too, and then
boring.
like how we always talk about the underworld, all of the caves and how under the ground, man, we could be exploring freaking under the earth too. We know very little about our own planet.
Our own place, yeah, exactly.
I mean, we've discovered everything on the surface, supposedly. I still kind of want to, I don't believe that 100% because there's land up in the Rocky Mountains where no humans ever touched it.
Sure.
And
Sure.
I'm pretty sure that that's the same way in China. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And Mongolia
Absolutely.
too,
Yeah.
especially.
Yeah.
So people saying that all of the Earth has been explored, I don't buy into that. There's other things that we could be exploring that's right here in our own backyard too. So
absolutely.
So
well, the thing is, it is what it is. People do the things they want to do, and that doesn't really always line up with what's logical or sensible. What we've got at the moment is a whole lot of people who are interested in flying rockets, not in submarines. So we just have to accept that that's where the rich people are playing.
That reminds me. Now, Robert, you do have like a second part that we're not even close, or we're just now getting to. Now, do you want to postpone on this extreme cold weather part and do it in another episode?
How many
Okay,
parts
that
are
would be
there?
best for me.
There's two. We've finished off the radiation. Now the extreme cold weather is we haven't even gotten into that. So you want to hold off and do that at another time, you guys?
Yes, please.
Yeah,
I
if
will.
it's all right with Bob, yeah.
That'd be
Yes.
cool.
It'd be
So
really cool to do another one of these. And
yeah,
but
I enjoyed this
unfortunately, I
too.
do have a bit of work that I need to get done. I've
Mhm.
got to learn how to put the Dude Where's My Wallet episodes up on a stream.
Now,
Quantum wants a live 24/7 stream, just looping Dude Where's My Wallet episodes.
hey, I'm planning on maybe doing that again, but I'm going to tell you right now that is very intense. I did not realize how much that takes up on the computer. Like I did, I made it to 2-3 months on my computer, and it was causing some major issues.
Yes.
So I mean, I had to really be careful about when. Sometimes let it stop and give it a break. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So
Yes, I've noticed that too. When I did it before, is that it seems to cut out after 8 hours. I'm lucky because I've got an old gaming computer.
mhm,
Callum's bought me a new battery, not computer, laptop.
mhm.
It's an old Asus laptop that I used to use for World of Warcraft. So it's just sitting here. So I don't need to use my own computer to stream. I can just set this laptop up. So that's what I'm
Robert's
maybe.
gotten Robert's gotten quiet again. Are you there, Robert?
Sorry, Robert.
Hmm?
Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So I need to go and sort that out. So I'm afraid I have to leave.
All right. So
Hey, Bob, I said hi. Okay.
Oh, thank you so much for having me on your stream, Robert. I loved it. It was absolutely fascinating, and I
Thank
look
you for
forward to
being
doing it
on.
again. It's awesome. Okay. See you again soon.
Okay.
Okay.
so
Thanks, Roger. Thanks, Robert.
you too.
Bye.
Bye.
So I've got a cool outro for us. So let me go ahead and do that, and we will be done. So
Oh,
that brings us to the end of the night, or end of tonight's program. We appreciate everyone who stopped by to spend some time with us, even if you're watching this later. Thank you for taking the time to join the conversation. If you enjoyed tonight's conversation or discussion, we'd appreciate your support by following the channel and sharing the stream with someone who might find it interesting. We'll be back with more conversations and new topics soon. Until then, take care of yourself and have a great evening, and we'll see you next time. Good night, everybody.